All right, welcome everybody. We're going to get started here in just a second. We've got my things popping up here. Let people come in from the waiting room. We will get started here in just a second. All right. Oh, look at all these people. Yay. Awesome. Just a few more still filtering in. Look, I was pretty right on the number, wasn't I? Nice. All right. Well, let's get started. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for Insurance Canopy's webinar, Growing and Protecting Your Wedding Business. We're going to talk about marketing, contracts, pricing, all the things for weddings professionals. My name's Kyle Porter, and I'll be hosting today's session. Whether you're a wedding planner, photographer, videographer, DJ, bartender, caterer, and anywhere in between of a wedding professional, we're excited to have you with us. As a reminder, today is sponsored by Insurance Canopy, which provides insurance solutions for wedding professionals of all kinds. So go check out their website. We're going to touch a little bit on insurance today, but what we're most excited about is to speak with our guest, Ms. Kim Horn. Kim is a producer of the Arizona Wedding Show and one of fewer than 75 master wedding planners in the world. She has spent years working alongside wedding professionals and helping businesses connect with couples, improving their marketing, and growing their presence within the industry. Before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded, so if you need to step away, don't worry. You can always come back and watch the rest. We love these to be interactive, and so we do have a Q&A at the end, but if you have any questions throughout the session, please drop that into the Q&A button there on the Zoom, as well as we've opened up the chat to allow people to chat with us. Kim might have some questions for you, so please feel free to just drop us anything you'd like there in the chat. And then finally, while we will be discussing, a little bit of insurance, contracts, business consideration, things like that, nothing in this webinar should be considered legal or financial advice or insurance advice. So please reach out to a licensed professional for any of that. So with that, I'd love to introduce our guest today. As I mentioned, her name is Kim. Kim, would you give us a little bit of background on yourself? I took a look at your background myself, and I am impressed. So if you could run us through
Thank
it a little bit.
Thank you so much, Kyle. And thank you for everyone for joining. And again, thank you to Insurance Canopy for hosting the webinar. Totally appreciate you guys. So, background in terms of things, I've been doing this for 37 years, longer than most of you have probably been alive. So, my hat has been I published a bridal magazine. I am a master wedding planner, one of 75 in the world. Yes, I am that girl. So, yeah, bring it. Hard events, difficult events, logistic nightmares. That's my mojo. Other thing is I've been doing wedding shows, which I've been involved in the wedding business since March of 1989. And the whole thing is I was this state coordinator for Arizona for the Association of Bridal Consultants, where we had 25 wedding planners. I took that to 150 because of the fact that I knew that when you connect people and when you network and when you do referrals, that's what works for your business. Okay. And it's not just, who it's how you know and relationships matter. So that is like my mojo in terms of being able to get engaged couples, understanding what that looks like, understanding what their parents look like, understanding what exhibitors and vendors need, and what it takes to basically make business work. And I want you guys to take away some major tips today, just something that you're able to implement, super simple. And you probably have done it before, but you didn't hit reset to be able to do that aha moment. Okay. So that's what we're going to give you today, Kyle. Get ready.
Oh, I love it. No, you're the perfect person for this. And wedding is such a broad term, right? There's so many people that it takes to put on a wedding. So I think kind of taking your expertise from across the board and sharing some of that with our audience is so exciting. So I guess let's start very broad. I'm curious. I'm not in the space. Um, would you give us kind of the overview of the state of the industry, the state of the wedding industry as we speak here in 2020? Where are we at? Mid-June 2026.
Well, one question that I get
Mhm.
this time of year, every time, is sales are down, weddings are in a recession, my business is down. Should I discount my price? Okay. So, the one thing that I'm going to say to everyone out there is wedding season is different, but it's going to be different in every state and in every climate. Okay. So, for Arizona, I'm going to focus on Arizona, but it also relates to your business because in Arizona, yes, we're at 102 right now, but up in northern Arizona, we're at 80. Okay, it's perfect weather. So our northern Arizona people are in their peak season. I'm from Illinois. I'm a Midwestern girl. I got friends in Jersey, I got friends in New York, I got friends in LA, I got friends out everywhere, right? All of us have, different cohorts that we work with. And the thing is, your cycle of when you book things is going to be different. Our sweet spot is going to be, as a wedding professional, is going to be during engagement season. Engagement season, just think about it. From middle of November through the beginning of January, the quantity of newly engaged couples is astronomical. Why? Because of holidays.
Hmm.
Everybody knows, for one, sorry, men, but everybody wants to put a ring on it when they can double it as a gift. Okay, let's do Christmas, let's do New Year's, we're going to see the parents. Everybody's going to be coming for whatever holiday that is, right? Why not do a 2 for 1 or a buy one, get one, right? And so, so
That's genius. I never would have thought of it, but you're so right. I just can't.
in terms of that, and so January is, we do our show. Anybody out there that does shows, we do our show, our 2 day show, our largest show is at the beginning of January because you get them fresh out of the gate. They're so overwhelmed, they're so excited. They haven't been jaded yet. They know exactly what they're not like, what? You know, and the thing is like for April and June, what's going to happen is couples get distracted. Okay. As spring sets in, for one, they're going to go on vacation. I mean, I hope that most of you are hitting a reset button, going, getting some time off because we just got out of peak season of wedding, 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 wedding. Okay. So the thing is, think about couples. They just did graduations, they had family trips planned for the summer. They're doing different vacations and they just want to hit a reset button, which mental health matters. And that is so important. When July and August hits, people are, it's a slower time. And then it's September through October, things pick up again because people are going back to college, they're going back to work. I mean, it's just like, again, it's new things that are happening. And then once again, once you get September through October is a busy booking season, okay? Because people are planning for next year's wedding, hopefully. And everybody's degree of planning is different. I've got people that call me and they want to do something in 30 days. I've got people that text me and they are like weddings in 2029. So everyone's version of their planning is going to be different. But the one thing that drives engagement season is holiday parties, holiday get-togethers, and they know that there's always going to be that relative them asking, so when are you guys getting married? And then it reverts to, all those other questions they have to answer. But that's a big one.
Okay, so we've got some timing of how it works. That's super interesting. And again, if you're in the space, you probably know a little bit, but that's after years of experience, you've learned this. That's how it works, right? I wanted to ask, again, kind of macro wise, since you've been in the space for so long, what do you think's maybe changed over even the short term, the past five since COVID kind of let's call it post-COVID or pre-COVID, post-COVID. How do you think couples buying behavior or their behavior in booking vendors or making selections for their wedding, how do you feel that that's changed over that time?
That is a great question, Kyle. And that is one reason why people feel that, it's a recession right now. It's not a recession right now. People are still getting engaged, they're still getting married. It happens every day. Okay. What happens differently is that when people are going through these motions, they are looking at different things. So the one thing is they have more avenues because of the internet, because of social media. They have so much thrown at them. All you have to basically go is, you can be an expert at a wedding now, right? You're an expert photographer,
Mhm.
you're an expert DJ, you're an expert wedding planner, you're an expert whatever. And the thing is like people think they're experts because they go to TikTok, they go to Instagram, they go to Pinterest, they wherever whatever their social media hack is, you know, Chat GPT, AI is great, right? The whole thing is that all you have to do is type in a sentence and all of a sudden it's at your fingertips. So what happens is couples get overwhelmed and they are taking I want everybody to know this. They are taking longer to make decisions because there's so much thrown at them. Men behave differently than women behave. And you also have the alpha person that's like, I want to take control of this. You have all those family situations, which are getting in, opinions, who's paying for what, where the budget's coming from. They have so much being thrown at them. And the number one thing that I can say is whether you're at a show, whether you're responding to an email, whether or you're not responding, the number one complaint that I get from every engaged couple is they are waiting on someone to do something. And I want to repeat that. They are waiting on someone to reply to them. They're waiting on someone to text them back, email them back, call them back, DM them. They're waiting on vendors to get back in touch with them. And the other thing is differentiating yourself. So you need to not just be a service like a photographer, videographer, a venue, a planner. I know I'm leaving a lot of you out, because we're all here together. But the thing is, you have to sell the outcome, the emotion, the feeling. It's like in terms of things. So for photography, it's not like, I see everybody like 8 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours, unlimited time, all of that. The one thing that you want to do is that's not what the bride and the groom and the partner are looking at. They're looking at, they want lifetimes and photos captured. They want it candidly. They want the style. They want, oh, this generational shot that we love. And we want that overlook of the balcony. We want the overlook of the mountain. And we want this glass enclosed. And we want the decor. We want all of that captured from memories of a lifetime. That's what you're selling. So when people try to reduce price, that is the number one no-no, because when you reduce price, what happens? We get those clients anyway. You're always going to have great clients and you're always going to have not so great clients, but it's how you set boundaries for those people and following up, getting in touch with them, in a timely manner is going to get you more business because the other people that don't follow up, don't respond, don't take the initiative, don't answer the questions, don't answer those emails, and yeah, there's a whole bunch. You can do FAQs all day, but it doesn't mean everybody's going to read it. Who reads?
I mean, totally. And I had a couple of questions to follow up because that's super interesting. We were talking about it prior to jumping on the webinar. Why do you think that some vendors out there are slow to respond? Are they overwhelmed? Just lots going on? Or on the flip side, because of the access to the internet and so many choices, are couples putting out a lot of inquiries and then just going dark on them? I'm curious what that dynamic is that
Yeah,
you're seeing.
great question. And like for you that are venues, it's like an RFP, a request for proposal. There are people that go, in social media and they go in different groups and they're like, hey, I'm planning a wedding. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at that. Please get back to me if you're this,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Which makes me crazy because I know then they always set the parameters and the people that are on social media only, you have to have different levels. Your website, if your website doesn't tell them what you do quickly within 15 seconds, what you do, why you do it, and what the next step is, shame on you.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
fair enough.
And so like the thing is there's a lot of people that don't even have a website. There's a lot of people that only, do things on, social media, and that's great. But social media is not I mean, it's part of you, but it's not all of you, if that makes sense. So the thing is like with clients, I have people that are so overwhelmed and they're like, just fast track me to this, fast track me to that. They want to fast track, but there's always one of them, and I never know who it's going to be. And I'm a type of person where I can get into your head, I can pretty much read you after 15 minutes, half an hour. I can read you. I'm very good at that. And whether it's over the phone, in a Zoom, whatever, I can read people. And that is something that you really need to do. You need to be a chameleon because the people that are not responding, it's a choice to not respond.
Hmm.
It's a choice to be responsive. And I always say that you want to set boundaries. So if you are getting those requests at midnight, do you respond at 12:15 a.m. in the morning? No, because that's a boundary. Because once you open that boundary, they're going to expect you to respond at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 a.m. every time you turn around. So the thing is that with people, they're out there requesting a lot of information. They go to Google. Type in a question. I want to know the number one whatever for my wedding in whatever and however on this date. What's the best? AI comes up, they have an answer. So they
Totally.
start going to websites. They start going to chats. They start, I mean, it's just like this plethora of information. So the thing is that you have to have your unique selling features as to what makes you unique. Not
Yeah.
selling your service, but selling your personality, selling your team, selling customer service. And I always tell people, in terms of my engaged couples, if you don't like the way they're handling things right now, just wait until you sign an agreement with them, until you give them money, because
Mhm.
it's going to change.
Well, this is a very interactive one. I wanted to remind people if you're on the webinar, please drop your thoughts and questions into the chat. Eric just says I want to just kind of read, timely responses really set me apart from other vendors. It actually surprises couple. Why? Because vendors are terrible at communication. He
Yes.
says when I'm at a desk, I get a reply. There's zero reason to just sit on it. He says should never take more than 18 to 24 hours. I love that note. And that does mean, you have to be working constantly, and that's the part of solopreneurship or entrepreneurship in general. I did want to ask the audience, please, by all means, put into the chat what kind of business you're in. We'd love to kind of talk directly to you. But okay, so we started to talk about probably one of the biggest questions for most people on the call. What are, in your opinion, maybe top three, top five, what are the best avenues to be getting these leads? I mean, I know everybody asks that question. Who knows? You could be on a list, you could go to a show, but I'm curious. You mentioned all these social media, you mentioned a website. What are you seeing in the industry? I'm sure it's changed year after year. What's the best way to market yourself in this kind of crazy loud environment?
And great question. And the thing is that it is so loud. Okay. I started my business before the internet. And my daughter says, "Oh my gosh, that's sad." Right? So I didn't have all of that coming at me. So, but I love social media. I love so many things. And I want to counter your question. One concept is almost every business thinks they have a lead problem,
True.
when in essence, they actually have a follow-up problem with the leads that they've acquired.
Mm, fair.
Okay.
Okay.
So with wedding professionals, the one thing is you get tons of leads, okay? You get tons of people coming at you. You need to be able to fine tune those. So I have people that say, "Hey, I spent $25 on Instagram ad and oh, and I'm going to boost this on Facebook and I'm going to do this on and you for instance, like I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising for our show. I am a marketing ninja when it comes to our show. I know what works. I know my numbers. I know what works. I know when I change something, how it like people told me that I would never get anybody to be at a wedding show at 8 a.m. in the morning. Well, at our May 31st show, I had a line out the door, down the steps at 7:07 a.m., and we had just opened doors. So I'm
Wow.
like, Barbie, watch me. Okay. So in terms of leads, you have to be very specific with the data that you put out there of who you want, who's your client, who's your sweet spot. The thing is that there's going to be high-end weddings, which are going to be less of them. There's going to be your middle-end weddings, where there's going to be more of them. And then there's going to be your lower-end weddings, which there's going to be a ton of them. You need to
Mm,
identify who your client is in order you put out what you get.
yeah.
So when you basically are, I'm going to reduce my price because of this, because it's summer and because I'm not getting any business, you need to plan for that. And the people that are for summer, when you don't have as much, as much incoming stuff in terms of summer of new business, that's when smart businesses, look at their systems in place. It's a reeval, it's a referral, it's a reset moment as to what systems do you have in place. Look at your numbers, look at your data, look at where things are coming from, look at where things are working. And I ask in terms of stuff, and Eric, I love Eric. Eric is one of my vendors. I love you, Eric. But the thing is that with it, you want to know data. I'm data driven, and if you're not data driven, shame on you. If you don't know your numbers of your business, shame on you. And as everybody knows, the thing is that prices are going up. They've went up. And so if you're haven't looked at at what you're doing, you haven't looked at evaluations in terms of what your pricing is and, you know, what your niche is and looked at your business and really dug deep into these are things that are working for my business. You need to know what data, what you're doing in terms of marketing, whether it's social media, whether it's your website, whether it's SEO. I mean, there's so many things that are out there. You can't do everything well. So you have to be able to monitor it. You need to be able to test it. You need to be able to say, hey, I know that this business came from that. And I'm going to ask everybody is for the last 5 weddings that you got, where did those weddings come from? You should know that off the top of your head. Was it a referral? Was it a wedding show? Was it social media? Was it your website? Where did it come from? And I'm not going to give you like everything, like Instagram, like all that. The whole thing is like, where is your business coming from?
No, that's, I mean, it's such a good point in knowing it. And I've done enough of these now that I wanted to share. I've done one with artists and crafters for people who work at a craft show, right? These are people that work with Insurance Canopy. I've done with photographers specifically, things like that. And they all said what you just said. Do not just lower your price to get the deal because it undercuts yourself. You're going to get a lower, depending on who your quality of product or your customer is. um Believe in yourself, set your price, and stand by it was something they shared with me. Would you agree with that? um
Absolutely. That
so
value, self-value and self-preservation is so huge. And I can tell you, and I know that, I mean, just true experience, there's always that client that you're like, oh my gosh, I did this, I did that, I cut my price, or I did that. When I started my business, I did this once and I learned from it. So no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. But the thing is, you learn from your mistakes. You
hmm
basically pick yourself up off of the ground and you're like, wow, okay, but you learn from it. And so like the whole thing is you have to know your value. Like for our show, I tell every like I send out PDFs on it. I let everybody know you need to have some show offer that those attendees get only because they showed up at the show. They made an effort to be there. That when they walk up to your booth, you need to wow them. It's something that you don't offer on your website, something you don't offer on social media, something that you normally don't do. You need to basically make it be where they can, and the other thing is we get 97% first-time attendees at our show. I'm going to repeat that. We get 97 first-time attendees at every show. So I am marketing constantly to new people because that's what my vendors expect from me. Okay. I do market to the same people that came to the previous show, but we only see 3 to 4% of them. Okay. So I am, like I said, a marketing ninja. And the thing is that with it, you have to be continually a chameleon. And the thing is just because they say, hey, I want to do a venue, but I only want to do it for 50 people, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. That person, for one, the lower price people, they are going to physically drain you. They are going to beat you up. They're going to make you crazy, and you're always going to remember them for the rest of your life. Okay. So on this one wedding that I cut the price, and from that wedding, I learned so much. It was a self-identifier as to I am not cutting my price because I'm valued. My time is money. My mental health is something. My team of vendors are like, oh my God, this person is a lot. And I'm like, oh, it's a lot, uppercase underscore in 48 point. Okay. It's just like, you know, and then you have those weddings and events that are the higher end client or the moderate end client where their kindness, they're sweet, they're kind. And the thing is you have that bridegroom partner that are in it for the right reason because they have great family. And I've gotten 9 referrals from one wedding.
hmm
You know what I mean? So like
that's
the whole thing is like one wedding, it's going to build your business.
that's a good point.
It's just like you build
Well,
from that referral base.
I wanted to ask what percentage of people, and I might guess it's a lot, but I don't know, what percentage of people are using a planner, and what percentage of couples think they can do it themselves and are going out and sourcing all of these vendors?
That is a great point. When wedding planners first came out, thank God for J-Lo. I gotta let.
The movie made it. Ah, got
Yes,
it.
it
Okay.
did. It was like, yes, it was one of those things. There's not a lot of people using wedding planners now.
Mm.
I mean, I'm
That
going to
think
say
they
it.
can take it on.
Because the thing is like you got a wedding planner that is at the venue, you have a wedding planner that is at the bridal shop, you have a wedding planner that's a DJ, you have a wedding planner that is your photographer, you have a wedding planner. I mean, everybody's a wedding planner, okay? So the thing is that if they can cut out one thing that's gonna, that's gonna save them money and give them value, wedding planner, see ya, bye-bye, you know? So like the whole thing is that you have to know your worth. You have to know at the end of the day, if I'm going to work 40 hours, like how much time are you putting into one wedding?
I'm curious.
You know?
I mean, obviously, it depends on the various areas you're in, but I'd be curious. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. How many weddings do you have to do then at that point?
Yep. Well, and the takeaway is, do you want to do 20 weddings at $3,000 each, or do you want to do 30 weddings at $20,000?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I choose that one.
You know what I mean?
Um, so since so I mean that obviously lends to the point that yes, this lead generation tool is extremely important. The follow-up, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
extremely important. We have a couple of questions I think just tie into it that I just want to go ahead and address. So somebody says, I'm just getting into the business. She's a singer-songwriter, potentially wedding performer. Is it time to make a website? Sounds like it probably is. I mean, do you always recommend, especially as just getting going, that healthy mix of get on social, get the website, get the email market? I mean, do you recommend that across the board?
I do, but the thing is that you have to know you have to have a business plan. You have to have
Mhm.
branding. You have to know who you are. So you just don't want to put something up that is not you. And if you don't know who you are yet,
So you need to treat this as a business. It's not
yeah.
just a performance. It's not to, that's a great point. And that's a lot of our solopreneurs that we work with Insurance Canopy. We always say that, treat it like a full on, like you're going to be an enterprise, right? So,
Yep.
again, you can chat GPT this stuff for nowadays, but you can say, I need to write a business plan. What is my mission? Who will I serve?
Mhm.
And set all of that up and write my about, and then build that into an overall brand that then is cohesive across the board. I see that as a really, really good point. Um, just because I'm curious, and we'll get to another person's question. We have some more here actually towards the end, but I just because it makes sense. In your opinion, what do you think the best follow up method is? Is email drip enough? I can tell you, I believe it's text message, but I'm not in the wedding business, so I'm asking, what do you think is the best follow up method?
Well, the one thing is that I'm going to say, and again, legally, we are not, I am not an attorney, but the thing is how did you get that lead and have they opted in and what are you able to legally do?
Oh,
Okay.
fair enough. I mean, that's smart of you. We should
Yeah,
probably think of that. Remember, this isn't legal advice because I'm like, I
right.
don't know, text him.
Yeah. So, like the whole thing is opting in and knowing that you have permissions and that you don't violate that person, because that's one thing with our attendees and our exhibitors. I have opt-in in terms of, and I do a cadence in terms of what I would recommend. So the thing is that when you text someone that is on their phone, that is their hip, their part of their body, that is an immediate reply or immediate stop
Mhm,
junk report.
mhm.
Okay.
Interesting. Yep.
So email is a little softer. Phone calls, anybody that calls, I don't know about you guys, but I would say 95% of my phone calls are spam and I
Mhm.
block them immediately. Okay.
Totally. And that's why my point. Well, I mean, I would never answer a call. I don't even answer a call from my best friend. But
Exactly. Don't call me. If you
well,
call me, it better be
that's
good. It's always bad.
you're
Yeah.
right. But I guess if they requested a quote or requested more information, then probably a text message would be appropriate.
Hmm.
Um, maybe, but definitely an email drip to answer Keith's kind of question there is probably that email drip campaign follow up. But let me ask you this, it's probably a different sales cycle because this person's looking for a one-time thing, right? This isn't like, I signed up for a newsletter for built, clothing, and maybe I'll make the decision down the road. This is like they're looking for a one-time day, they make the one-time decision. Am I right in that?
Well, the thing is that every wedding is going to be different. So their end game is going to be their wedding date.
Mm-hmm.
So you can set up a system, whether it's 30 days before their wedding, 60 days before their wedding, 6 months before their wedding, a year before their wedding, whatever. You could have or should have systems in place that are educational, informative, not salesy. Okay.
Smart.
That are, oh my gosh, I didn't think of that. You build a relationship with them.
That's really, really smart, and provide them value, right? And
Value.
show them.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
important do you find, so there's a lot of creative roles within a wedding, whether it's, I would say from florist to DJ to photographer, right? There's just a lot of creativity involved. Do you
Mhm.
recommend, putting together that rich, pretty content, making videos of yourself, doing photos? Do people really rely on that these days when making a decision to reach out?
Well, the thing is it once again, it goes back to branding. Are
Mm-hmm.
you the brand or what is the brand? And
Mm-hmm.
what personality are you going to give? People want authenticity. They want to know who they're working with. And so the thing is that if you don't want to be behind the camera, maybe you do voiceovers and you have all of that awesome content of you building that wedding or you doing that event, of the videos that you've done of your events, or whatever you want to sell once again that outcome that they're looking for, those memories, those, oh, we did it, for instance, like at a venue. You don't want to be like, oh, we have a 5,000 square foot ballroom that just was remodeled. Okay, how does that benefit my guest and I?
Mm-hmm.
What is the get ready? Are we going to be able to get ready there? Do you have picturesque moments that we would be able to do our engagement photos there that would basically be of the mountains overlooking this, overlooking that? It's all of that feel good stuff. And so the thing is, those videos, it shows your personality, but you don't want to basically be that angry person. I see some of these videos where people go rogue and they're like, well, let me tell you about this wedding, blah, 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 and all this. And I'm like, you know, you need to step back a little. And I always do it as to edit, edit, edit. Right. And so the thing is that weddings are normally a very happy, memorable occasion. You want to have that essence of consistency and branding, whether it's colors, whether it's the feel, whether it's who you invite, all of this. And all of a sudden you come up with 250, the United States is doing this 250. Okay. And all of a sudden everything goes red, white, and blue. And you're like loud and you're crazy. And they're like, wow, I didn't see that one coming.
Mm. So it
Right?
doesn't align with the brand, right? You've got
Right.
to stick with it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Um, this is just kind of a question that I just think, well, kind of goes with our marketing, and I want to get a little bit more into the business side of things before we talk, or what we'll talk about next. But do you put out, I'm paraphrasing this question, but do you publicize your prices right off the bat? Or do you try, like, in your opinion, from the way you see 1,000 vendors come through, do you put starting at, do you put a range, or do you say ask for a price? And how does that affect what you're saying? What would you recommend, I guess, from what you're seeing?
Well, it's basically, yeah, that is one of the number one questions that I get from all vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it's the elephant in the room. If you don't give them a price, how do they know what you're worth?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's say, for instance, you're a venue and you don't offer a price. And then all of a sudden you get the quote back and it's $30,000 more than what you ever thought of. You wasted your time, energy, effort. Okay. So that's one of those things. But let's say, for instance, you're a venue, you put out the price, and people turn away from you because it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that in between. That's why you want to have different levels of what you offer.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, companies have 3 to 5 to 7 different ranges of things. And what are you willing to negotiate in or pull out? Like, let's say, for instance, it's a photographer and their budget is 2,500. Every photographer has something at 2,500. It may be their low ball, it may be their high ball, depending on what their experience is. But the thing is that look at the photography of companies that are $10,000 and they basically don't use the word price, they don't use the word discount, they don't use the word free. It's a luxury photographer and they are going to say investment.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to say, I'm going to offer you free this, free that, discount here. It's not going to be like the used car salesperson. It's a brand. Okay. And the thing is that You have to know what your quality is, what your value is, and what market do you want. I mean, a lot of people are scared of the luxury market, and the luxury market are some of the most difficult people, but some of the kindest people that you'll ever work with. But the thing is that you have to have customer service. You have to have boundaries because they are a lot. But the thing is that if you are doing, like I said, if you want to do 50 weddings and you want to get paid $2,000, or do you want to do 20 weddings and get paid $50,000?
Mm, interesting.
You know what I
So,
mean? It's just like you need to know what it is. But I have always put pricing out there, and it's always worked for me because I put a high. I am odd. Everybody knows me. Either love me or hate me. Okay, so I'm an odd person. I do things in threes, and a lot of people do things in threes because I have a high, a medium, and a mid range.
mm,
Like with our
and
booths, I have different options on booths. I've got, if you want, it's location, location, location. If you want that corner, if you want that at the entrance, if you want by the fashion show on the aisle, whatever you want, we've got it, but you're going to pay more for it. If you want the smallest size booth, great. You're going to be in the back of the show. That's where you're going to be. And you're in 50 square feet of space, and I'm going to assign your booth based on different things with the fire marshal. So the whole thing is that pricing is important to put out there because if you don't put it out there, you're not basically, yes, you may be losing some people for not putting it out there, but think about how many people you're losing because you didn't put it out there.
you know, and the risk potentially worth it, right? To going back to the original question asked, if I'm losing people, should I not be putting pricing out there? Well, maybe you don't get hung up on the ones you're losing. You put it out there, they weren't right. That feels like that might make sense for where it's at. Talking about pricing, costs are high. We know that. We can admit that across the board and around the nation. Things cost more nowadays. We've got gas prices even more nowadays. Are you seeing wedding vendors raising their prices right now? Is that an appropriate thing to do, or are they trying to strap in and help out the couple? I mean, is it how do you and what margins do you try to keep in there? Do you know any of that for some of your vendors?
And great question again. Pricing is something that I think every business is scared of. But if you don't know your data of where your clients are coming from and how you're getting those clients and what your niche client looks like, then you're not going to be able to know what you're putting out there, how it's working, when it's working, and what's not working. More important, I can't tell you how many people say, "Oh my God, I spent this much on a wedding show and they didn't do this, they didn't do that, and it was a disaster." And what do? They go and do the same show again, expecting a different result. And I go to the show and they're like, complaining about all these things. I'm like, not my show. Okay. And so the thing is that you have to put it out there as to what you want, but you have to know your pricing. I don't know what your pricing is. You know what your pricing is. And I shop. I always get three quotes. I shop, I shop, I shop. I evaluate my business, my vendors on an ongoing basis because of the fact that I want to know that I'm offering the best product based on expectations and brand. And people know, like anyone that's in my show, they know that I don't mess around. I am after having the best experience for my attendees and for my exhibitors. And I take anything seriously in terms of when people are like, hey, what about this? What about that? I listen to people. And that's what you have to do. You have to listen to people. What are people saying? If they're saying, oh, your pricing is this, your pricing is that, are they a right fit for you?
Well, and that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Again, having done this for so long, we're here supporting the wedding vendors, right? I mean, normally it's like, we got to support our clients, blah, blah, blah. But today we're here supporting the vendors. What are some red flags you've seen over the years in clients? Like that it's okay for a wedding vendor to go, you know what? I don't want to do this. This is not for me.
There's always going to be that client that at the very beginning, they ask you, okay, one of these weddings, I cannot make this up. I offered, when I first started, a complimentary consultation for an hour. I had on a Zoom, and I cannot make this up, it was rapid fire. I had 30 faces show up, And it was how, because I said, whatever you can ask me in an hour, I'll handle complimentary. Okay. Just so you get, that off the top of my head, I can answer a question, right? And they had 30 people. And it was like, once I answered that, the next one answered. Once they answered that, the next one answered. It was just like, right. And I was like, I have never had that. I basically I've never had that my entire life. From that experience, I know that those people that are asking all those questions are never going to hire me because they think they're experts.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
when the people are never not going to change the way that they are. Okay. When they say it's not about the price, what's it about? The price. If they say
Hmm.
it's not about this, it's about that. Okay. And so the whole thing is that with it, I've had people that I've said, you know what, I'm not a right fit for you.
And that's okay, I would assume, in
Yeah,
this
and it's
it's
okay, and then the thing is like what they ask me, and the next thing is, okay, do you have somebody that you would recommend? And I'm like, well, I would recommend that and then depending on what their situation is, but the thing is, if they're not a right fit for me, they may not be a right fit for a lot of people. Okay. And the thing is that you're always going to have one client that you will never forget as long as you live. Okay, we've all been there. Okay, and the whole thing is that with it, you'll never forget that. But think of all those like amazing clients, and what you want is everybody wants the fun client, the amazing client, the person that doesn't ask you 1,000 questions, the person that their credit card actually goes through. You're not basically sitting there, the day before the weddings. I actually had this wedding. I cannot make this up. It was at Royal Palms, very high-end wedding. And I was in the lobby of Royal Palms with, I think, 8 credit cards from the father of the bride because he had given money to the bride and she spent it vicariously. And I was asking in the lobby of the Royal Palms, do you want with the credit card company, and it's not my card, but it was the father of the bride, and I'm trying to get his credit limit extended with these credit card companies so Royal Palms can be paid.
oh my gosh.
Okay.
That was
I will
some
never forget that as long as I live. And when I walked away from there, I was like, I saved that wedding because Royal Palms was like, we're over, we're done.
yeah.
It wasn't me, it was the client. Okay. And it's just one of those things where you got to know when to walk.
Well, and I did want to ask that. What do you recommend for clients on taking deposits and net and like what is their net payment terms? Like just so what you're seeing kind of across the board. Do they pay the night at the night of after they paid a deposit? What would you recommend in all your experience?
Everybody is different. What I've always done that has worked for me is I love to get everything that is nasty. Not getting paid is not ever a good, I know that's like a triple negative, okay? But the thing is like I prefer to have my vendors paid 30 days prior to the event because there are always going to be things something happens here, something happens there. That's a minor adjustment. The companies, and there's always times like where there's vendors that, hey, just pay me on the day of the wedding, and they're real nonchalant. But they're the first time that I see them, they're like, did you get a check for me? Right.
Right.
So they're
Right.
nonchalant to the client, but to me, they're like, did you get a check for me? Right. And I was like,
Mhm.
I do. I have a check for you. Or, you know what I mean? But it's just, in terms of pricing, I always tell people that I mean, your price point, your numbers, what your hard cost is. So the thing is that once you've done the wedding, what if they stop payment on that check?
Yeah, right.
How do you feel with that? You need to know the value of your worth. And I truly say that getting paid in full 30 days prior to the wedding is very smart because then any situations that may happen after that is going to be nonchalant. But let's say, for instance, somebody has an attitude at the wedding, something happens, and you know how weddings are. They are
Mhm.
what they are, right? And everybody says, "Oh, I'm gonna have like the dream wedding, the perfect wedding." Well, that doesn't exist. All of us that are vendors know that a perfect wedding does not exist. And
Right.
anyone that says that it's a perfect wedding, I'm like, it was. Thank you, right? So,
No,
yeah.
exactly.
But the thing is, I traditionally do and offer your clients, it's like if you're willing to prepay for this, is there an incentive that they pay you cash? If they, please, on the Venmo, on the on all the forms of payment, it's just like get something that is legitimate. That, in terms of things being challenged, it's real. Make sure that your agreements are so important because that is your first line of defense. Your insurance is your second line of defense. Okay.
I mean, you're giving me the perfect transition, but I do want you to finish your thought on agreements because we did promise to kind of touch on contracts. So just give me the 101 on that one.
Yeah, on agreements, it's super important that you have on there cancellation, change of date. Please do not put refundable deposit. Deposits are refundable.
Mhm.
Okay. So you want to put retainer, non-refundable retainer. You have to basically put whatever you're getting that money for, what is it? What is it being used for? What is the value of that? And then also, very important, you're taking that dates, depending on how, if it's a Hindu wedding and it's 4 days, woo. The whole thing is you're taking that out of your inventory for your team and for you. So
Mhm.
you need to know what is it that you're going to lose. Think of yourself as a venue. A venue basically, 60 days out, 100% paid, you know?
Whatever happens,
Yeah,
happens. And
whatever happens,
yeah,
happens. You change that date, it doesn't, it's not rolled over. So the whole thing is
retainer, not deposit. I love that. That's such
yeah.
a good tip that I think everybody could take from this. It's technically and maybe call it, but in your contract, it's a non-refundable retainer.
Well, instead, for, what I've done in my agreement is I basically put it out there as and AI is great for that. So the whole thing is I put things that are issues with what you've had in the past, and AI will come up with like, and then you got to tone it down a little, and you got to challenge ChatGPT. It's like, hey, they know you, but you got to challenge them, right? Just don't take their first answer because then all of a sudden when you say, what about this? And they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Thanks so much. That's a great point, Kim. But the thing is your agreements. I've read so many agreements that are so, and I'm not an attorney, but I've done attorneys' weddings where they've actually asked me to be on their legal team because I knew more than their staff. So, yeah, the whole thing is that don't put things in your agreement that you're not going to do. If you say that you're going to provide those photos, those videos, whatever you're doing in 30 days, do it in 30 days. Put those expectations in there, but don't put 15 days if you're not going to do it in 45. So don't put things in your agreement that you're not going to do because shame on you. Right. And the thing is, in terms of pricing and chargebacks, anything like that, especially if somebody, they change their mind and they're like, you know what, maybe we're not a right fit. You want that out clause for them as to define what a not a right fit for them is. They say they canceled the wedding. Well, you find out that they ended up getting married anyway, but they chose a different photographer. How does that make you feel?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, and that's the point of agreements, right? So, I mean, I was gonna ask the question, do you recommend agreements? So it sounds like you beyond recommend agreements. In fact, it's an essential.
Yeah.
And you led us beautifully into the funnest section now of insurance. And obviously this is brought to you by Insurance and Canopy. So I do want to kind of touch on some of that. And of course, jump in if you have any thoughts or questions. But I wanted to just kind of give the basics, right? I think one of the biggest mistakes a small business can make, solo entrepreneur or small business, they think insurance is boring. Look, I got a policy. I'm good to go forever. What I've learned in working with Insurance Canopy all this time is that it is the farthest from the truth, is that your insurance actually evolves as you evolve. And there's multiple types of insurance, right? So let me just give you the basics. We've all heard of general liability insurance. That's kind of your basic one. That's where you start. For most wedding vendors, and I'm a marketing consultant, right? So I have a marketing consultant general liability policy. I've always been told in working with this, general liability policies are pretty much if you get sued. It's kind of like the general liability one. Is if there's something that your client comes to you and sues you, basic. But there's so much more. There's other types of policies that you've got to think about. And so, for instance, particularly in like consulting services or advice services, there's such called a professional liability insurance. So that's if you do something that's, that causes an incident based off of your advice. There's another one which I've always thought is so funny called inland marine, which is technically like equipment coverage. So this is important for your DJs, your photographers, for your cameras, your equipment. You want to look like your general liability policy isn't going to cover, say, something even if it happens on site. And so the way that it works is, yes, your venue might have insurance, but their venue insurance, so say a guest does something, to break your deck as a DJ, that's not necessarily going to be covered under a vendor excuse me, under a venues policy. So you're going to want to, as a business, have inland marine equipment coverage on those various things. If you're a bartender, I think you desperately know this one, a liquor liability policy. So there's various types of policies. So it sounds overwhelming, right? That's why I learned this in working with Insurance Canopy. You need to think of your insurance kind of like your health checkup, right? You go to your doctor once a year and go, how's my health? Give your insurance provider a call once a year. I know you feel that your prices are just going to go up or things like that. It's worth the call to go, "Hey, I made this much money more this year, less this year. I hired someone. I bought a new equipment. I got a new car. I opened a new office space." All of that changes what's called your risk profile and what changes your insurance. Now again, when I changed my marketing consulting, I think my claim or my what do you call that, the cost monthly, whatever that is, that changed like $1.50. You know what I mean? That's the kind of numbers we're talking about, but it changed my as my business changes. So I always want to explain that and kind of like, don't think of insurance as this big scary thing. That's why insurance, like specifically at Insurance Canopy, not to be over salesy, they're not commission based, they're not trying to sell you. You just call them and say, hey, I bought this, am I covered? Hey, I'm doing this deal. Something that's really important when working with venues or with working with various different other venues is the additional insured. I know you wanted to notice on that too as well, Kim, that like, and a lot of venues will require it, is to you to have a policy and then to list them as additional insured. It shouldn't cost you extra money. You get additional certs, at least with Insurance Canopy, for as many as you'd like. But that those are things that are just check them off the list because it protects you, it protects your client, it protects the venue, and that's what insurance is for. I always heard this in working here. Insurance is about how much risk you want to put on somebody else and how much then you're willing to pay for it. And I loved that because I was like, I know I'm risk averse. So I'm like, just tell me how much so I don't have to worry about it. And that's what your insurance. So that's my spiel kind of on insurance. Any thoughts there, Kim? I mean, I'm sure you've worked with Veracity and Insurance Canopy. I'm sure you require insurance of your vendors. Any thoughts? I mean, do you push vendors to have insurance?
I do. And the thing is like at the show, especially, I've had a person like I require a COI at, from all of our exhibitors to basically be 1 million. We have moving vehicles. There's a lot of moving parts at the show. I've had somebody step on a chair and fell off a chair. It was her choice to step on the chair and fall off the chair. And then I don't hear about it because she didn't go to security until the next day. And then all of a sudden she's limping around and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, why did I not know about it when it happened? Why
Mm-hmm.
did you not report? So the whole thing is report, inspect, tell, right? And insurance is, I cannot tell you, as soon as you say, and the company came and they're like, so, our insurance, your insurance is going to handle this, right? I'm like, the
Always the question, right?
and so
It's
I was like, I apologize, but I did not receive your COI, which I could ask for that
mhm,
has to indemnify both the Arizona Wedding Show as well as the city of Phoenix, which owns the Phoenix Convention Center. And
right.
I deal with the city of Phoenix, so all I's have to be dotted and T's crossed. And the thing is that your business should be that same way. Your agreement, put things in there that are, what are you going to do and what is the client going to do? Make them be responsible as well. Are they going to pay you? How are they going to pay you? Are they going to have insurance? Because the thing is especially, the Airbnbs and like all those crazy things as everybody's like, oh, we're just going to bring in our own bartender. And I'm like, I can't breathe, okay?
Yeah,
Because
especially
liquor
liquor
liability
liability.
is so huge. It's like
Yeah.
all one person has to do is drive off that lot, kill somebody, and everybody's life changes forever. And the thing is, it's normally going to be the groomsman that everybody said, don't talk to Nick because Nick, and Nick has got some issues, but he's invited in the wedding party, and Nick drives off and basically kills somebody. He doesn't have insurance. He like whatever. He's not insured. Who's he going to come after?
The event host. And that's so speaking of, that was something else I wanted to put out there. So Insurance Canopy mostly works with small businesses, solopreneurs, small that kind of thing, but they do also offer an event host liability policy. And so that's the kind of their new thing. So if you have clients that, especially if you're a wedding planner where you're giving that, I mean, any of them really, if maybe just a casual ask, well, are you getting event host insurance? Well, what do you mean? Well, if something bad happens, because then from what I've told about it, and again, I'm not an insurance professional, I just host the things, but let the insurance companies fight who's going to have the liability about it, right? But you got to have that policy to go out there and fight for you. And so, that because I've done some events myself, they're very affordable. And it's like, here's my one day, here's how many people are coming, and you might want to recommend to your clients to get themselves an event host policy just to protect kind of everybody at that point. Okay, so we do have to start to wrap this up. We have a few more questions. If you have any questions, drop them in here. Kim, you are a wealth of knowledge. I have loved every second. But we're almost at the hour. But I want to okay, let's go through some here. Um, oh, we had some notes here of uh just I wanted to share what Eric wrote. If you meet someone or you're doing a quote and get email and text, do both. A lot of emails go into spam. It's totally acceptable to just follow up in both those touch points. I think that's really a great advice, Eric. So thank you so much. Um, oh, we already answered that one, so we're doing good. Um, Another one we had here. Oh, we answered. Man, we went through these and did these. I'm proud of us. Um, Shoot, sorry, it just logged me out. So the question is, and I just wanted to reiterate that if you had one major takeaway from this to get in all your years of experience, Kim, what's one major takeaway if you're just starting in this business? That's kind of what she's asking. I'm just getting started. What's one major piece of advice you would have to share with our vendors?
The one thing you want to do is, a business plan.
Yeah,
You
like we
need
talked
to
about.
you need to understand where you are now and what's your, what it's basically. I'm a planner. Okay. So the thing is like if you don't know where you're going, because you don't know where you're going, how can you expect where you're going if you don't foresee it? You got to dream big. You have to know, like, it may take you 5 years to get there. It may take you 3 years to get there. It may take you a month to get there. Okay. It depends on your will and what you have at your fingertips and how motivated you are and what your knowledge level is and who you surround yourself with and who you refer. It's that big wheel. But the thing is that do a business plan and do pros and cons of what your strengths are and pros and cons of what your weaknesses are, because those weaknesses, you're going to need to have a team of people that are going to help you, that you trust to build you up. And then your strengths, know what your strengths are and where, you're like, okay, I'm good on this, but you still need somebody to fact check you or do a quick check on in terms of, am I good at this? Am I great at this? No, have somebody there that can call you out on things, and be real with you. Your inner circle of people are going to tell you, certain things that maybe other people may not tell you. And as I think as we get older, your inner circle goes from here down to here, right? And so you want to trust those people and those professionals, that where you have weaknesses, you need to have that gap filled. How is that going to be filled, and what does that cost look like, and how do you price yourself?
Yeah. No, and I think that what I'm kind of gotten is it's a bit of a community, right? You do want to leverage your community here. Obviously, there is a bit of competition, but there's enough to go around, and especially with it being so geographically focused, because weddings are geographically focused, maybe leverage your community. This actually goes to this question I was trying to dig up here. This person says, is it worth paying for the Knot? I don't know what these are. Is it worth paying for the Knot or WeddingWire memberships anymore?
So if the Knot or Wedding Wire's on here, uh,
Sorry, I just thought I forgot about that, but
and
they
bless
asked.
you, bless you where you're at. One thing that I can say is Data.
Data. That's right. Where does your lead come from? Take us.
Okay. Are you getting it from the Knot? Are you getting it from Wedding Wire? I can say personally that out of the amount of businesses in the years that have used them, it is normally not as extensive. And Wedding Wire and The Knot, don't even get me started on that whole thing because they're intertwined and things like that. And so Monopoly, did I say that? And so there's certain things you need to know your worth, and I feel that there are other avenues in your community that you could use wiser.
Interesting. Okay. This person says, In general, do you see people booking at the last minute more? It's been driving me nuts. Is this common?
Okay, last minute people make me crazy too. So I love you. Okay, the thing is you got to love them where they're at. And so for last minute people, a lot of times maybe they don't have the tools or the life skills to be able to book something in advance, or they forgot. Oops, we just figured out that we needed a venue. Well, I don't think so. But the thing is that what I do and what I'm starting to do with our show, because last minute people always think they can get a better deal, which they can't. And I would recommend last minute weddings and events that you charge them what you're worth for what you have to do in 30 days instead of what you could have done in a year.
That's great advice. I think that's really fair advice. And I think that if they're not willing to do it, fine. 'Cause it seems like it's going to be an issue anyway. But I think that that's really a good way to look at it, that that work is still set up in that time.
Mhm. Well,
And
and the
remind
thing is, the last minute, sorry, Kyle, the last minute ones, no matter what, they're like, oh, we're only 25 people, we're only 50 people. Well, you still got to do the same thing that we could have been doing for 6 months, and now you're doing it in 6 days.
Yeah. And you remind, so you said it earlier in the session that the engagement time is really the holiday sessions, and then
Mhm.
people are jumping into it. So do you kind of see January, February as like the lead time to really be ready for to take those leads and be active? Is that what I got from that? Or when is the best time to be ready for
Well,
those
the
leads?
thing the thing is people get engaged all the time, but the engagement peak season is going to be from Thanksgiving through, I mean, people say Valentine's Day, and I'm like, that's not Valentine's Day. It's basically it's the November 15th because they're getting ready for that Thanksgiving and then the holiday and types of stuff through New Year's.
Mhm.
That's engagement time. The thing is that when do they start making decisions? That's again on them. Okay. And so the thing is like with what we see in January is we see engagements go through the roof. And we have people that are planning for 2027, 2028, 2029, and 2030 weddings.
Wow.
Okay, so it
And
depends because the thing is some of those things. Okay, maybe I'm graduating with my master's, or I have to move, or we want to buy a house, and all those things get in the way. Oh, well, he's there, I'm here. We have to combine this. We got to do this. We got to do this, and they have this whole roadmap, which everybody's roadmap is going to be different. But they do 1,000 things before they get married, right? And so at the end of the day, the main thing is to be there, be responsive, follow up with them repetitively in different ways, in different forms, in different methods. Basically, follow, you don't have to follow them, but, go to their social. You find out a lot about people by going to their social, good, bad, and otherwise. Okay. And the thing is that with it, just be there, be present, and know your niche, know your pricing, know your data, know where your clients are coming from. Referrals are huge. And if I'm going to basically ask you guys, the one thing, three things: follow up with people immediately. The second thing is the last 5 weddings that you did, where did they come from? I bet a lot of them are referrals. I bet some of them are wedding shows. I bet some of them are social media. But the thing is that you have to go where new people are. With our show, we have 97% new people at each show. I'm bringing new people to each show. Not, social media is a touch and go and touch and go and touch and go. And a lot of people think that they have to post this much, so much, and all this content, 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 content. Well, the thing is your content relative? Is your content engaging? Is your content educational? Or is it just propaganda?
Interesting. And well, speaking of that, and so you touched on some of those lead sources. This person says, "How do I?" Oh wait, I lost it. Um, what how do I get something about I know you're not a venue, Kim, but how does one get onto a vendor's preferred list? I can't find the question now, but
Great
is
question.
that
So
possible?
uh, everything is possible. Okay, I'm known as Kim Possible.
There it
Everything is
was. Yes, I
possible.
know. I got
Okay.
that from you and I love it.
And so the one thing is that and I can't, I'm going to say food and beverage because I can't say F and B. Kyle, we already kind of touched on that. So like, for food and beverage, those I put it this way, a food and beverage sales and catering manager or opposites, they whatever they go by, because there's different levels and different hierarchy in terms of who does what, but they change often and they change rapidly. And the thing is like whoever you've known at this property is probably going to be at that property in 6 months because if they're really good, somebody's going to try to grab them. Okay. And so the thing is, relationships matter. And the thing
Mm.
is that look at who's on their vendor list right now. You want to wine and dine them. Well, not wine and dine them, but I mean, you don't want to get them drunk. I mean, no, no. And the insurance is important. Like the whole thing is that you want to have that relationship with them. Do you like working with them? Is it a great venue for you? It needs to be a right fit with the price point and and the personality and what you do, and see what their vendor list looks like. What does it look like? Do I have to give you a 10% referral fee? That's going to be, once again, data pricing, right? There are vendors that basically, there's, put it this way, there's venues that haven't updated their vendor list in 6 years. I'm like, that person is no longer in business. That person is dead. I mean, I go on
Wow.
and I'm like, you know, so if you don't ask, you don't get.
Interesting. I love it. And because yes, I knew it was possible. I just wondered to that point, is it locked in or it truly is that relationship building and that experience? So it's not necessarily about what you've done and earning that certain it's showing and having that I don't know, the whatever to go and introduce yourself and build a relationship.
Yep. It's all
Um,
about the relationships. It's all about the referrals. And if you don't ask for a referral, the one thing is like with my business, my referral base was almost zero because everybody thought because of my brand that I had so much business. I'm like, I'm getting business on my own with or without you.
hmm
I'm that
Interesting.
girl
hmm That's
because
good.
I know that that like with one photographer, I sent them over, I don't know, $200,000 business in 1 year.
Yeah.
Did I
Interesting.
ever see one referral from them? No.
Hmm. It is very relationship.
Because
And
I
again,
was I was at the beginning of the food chain where they were at the end of the food chain. Right.
mm,
And so you have to know, and the venue is at the beginning of the food chain. Also, wedding shops are at the beginning of the food chain. And the thing is you want to be real. Are they doing open houses? Okay, they're doing open houses. Well, if you're a caterer, how about if we do charcuterie boards? Or how about if if you do bar, what if we had a bar at your open house? Maybe we do champagne and maybe into their open, I don't know. They've got clients coming in and they do three of the dress fitting rooms because they want their bridal party there. They want to wine and dine. Great. The wedding gown shops are huge. And that's one reason why our show is so popular is because we are the one show in Arizona that does a high fashion runway show twice. It's crazy. We do 56 changes in 26 minutes. I'm sorry, 52 changes in 26 minutes. It's fast and furious.
how fun. How fun. We'll have to check that out. Well, Kim, you've been absolutely wonderful. We're past our time. Thank you to all of those who stuck around for the entire, we went a little bit over. There's no doubt you are a wealth of knowledge.
Thank
Kim
you.
Horn, producer, Arizona Wedding Show, correct?
Mhm.
We just had your show, so I can't say go to your show soon, but is it once a
Go.
year?
Our next show is January 9th and 10th, 2027 at the Phoenix Convention Center. It's not
Planning
too
that out.
soon.
It's not too soon. Well, thank you to everybody. We just got to thank you in there.
Thank
So
you.
appreciate the time. And yeah, I think we got a lot of crazy good takeaways. The one of them was take a rest, right? That was one of them I heard at the very beginning. Take a rest. Wedding, you work your butt off in events. It's okay to go, okay. Whoo. Next season. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us,
Okay.
Kyle. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.